Hi, my name is Dory Wolf, and I'm the Texas Program Coordinator here at Solar United Neighbors, Sun. And I'm here to cover some basics about solar technology and economics and to help you become solar ambassadors. I'm also a solar homeowner myself, and I care about the climate. At Sun, we are a vendor neutral 501(c)(3), and it helps people go solar, join together, and fight for their energy rights. We're a national organization with staff all over the country in 11 states, DC, and Puerto Rico. We also offer bulk purchasing programs. Since we got our start in 2007, we've helped thousands of people go solar. Thanks to West Street Recovery and the High Fund, we have helped in the last 2 years 20 low-income homeowners go solar, with 7 of the hub homes getting batteries so that they could open their homes to their neighbors during an outage. So, how did Sun get started? Sun's story began with something called the Mount Pleasant Solar Co-op in Washington, D.C., back in 2007. And Walter, pictured on the left, is the son of our executive director, Anya Schoolman. He, his friend Diego, wanted to go solar. Anya looked into it and quickly figured out that going solar was not easy. And at that time, and Walter and Diego went door to door around the neighborhood, and they signed up 50 neighbors interested in working together to untangle that process. After lots of meetings and research and coordination, 45 neighbors in that first group went solar, which is just pretty exciting. And after that, Anya got calls from all over the country to organize similar groups. And before we get into the presentation, I want to take a moment and address the inequities of our current energy system. Low income community and community of color have the highest energy burdens. And on average, low income households spend 7.2% of their income on utilities, while higher income spend only 2.3%. Communities of color, particularly Black communities, bear an unfair share of the cost of energy production, but receive fewer benefits. Families of color are more often harmed by the higher utility bills and shutoffs. On top of that, housing discrimination is a barrier to home ownership and thus to solar ownership. Rooftop solar lets communities invest locally. It creates good local jobs and it brings control of the energy system within our reach. We're working toward a new energy system that everyone can participate in, one that is fair and equitable, has rooftop solar at its cornerstone. So we'll get into the main part now of the presentation. It's a webinar. In this webinar, we'll be covering not only the technology topics that you need to be a good consumer, but also the economics and incentives that make it such a great way to invest in your home and lower your electricity bills in the long run. So we'll start there with the solar technology, and we're going to start with photovoltaics. How do solar panels work? So we're talking about solar PV technology or photovoltaics. It's a technology that converts light energy into usable electricity. The majority of today's solar market is PV technology. Solar thermal is another residential solar technology that would be far, but that's for another day. So what is comprised? What are the components? The first component is a solar panel. It is constructed of silicon cells and is surrounded by layers on either side to protect it from the elements and keep it rigid so it can be mounted securely. The silicon cells convert the sun's light into electricity. And then the other system components you'll need is racking to hold the panels to your roof. And they come in a variety of types that allow the solar installers to connect the solar array to just about any building or ground location. One of the most common roofing types is asphalt shingle. And for this type of roof, attachments are made to the rafters of your home through the roof and then waterproof to prevent leaks that either through flashings, such as shown here on this roof, or specialized compression and sealant attachments. Those attachments provide base for aluminum rails, and then the panels are bolted on top of those rails. The system components, well, here's an example of a standing seam metal roof that shows use of clamps to hold it on. And then if you have space and your local permitting rules allow, put the solar panel on a ground mount. It's a great option. The panels can be pointed directly south and benefit from better airflow beneath them to maximize energy production. Ground mount systems often cost a little more because of the additional materials and the need for trenching the wires underground back to your home. Not all installers offer ground mounts, and they may not be part of this program, so be sure to ask your installer if you are interested in that option. Solar inverters are the brains of your solar array. They convert electricity coming from the panels into a form your house can use. They also allow you to see energy production from the solar array and how it performs over time because the inverters report that information to an online monitoring app that you can access. There are a few different kinds of inverters. String inverters on the left are a single unit that controls many panels, and microinverters are smaller and get attached behind each panel and control it individually. And then optimizers with string inverters are sort of a combination of the two. Your installer will recommend which type they feel is best for your home, depending on things like how much shade there is. Shade can greatly impact how much energy your system will produce. Microinverters and optimizers are often recommended when there are potential for intermittent shade. Your electric panel is where the output of your solar array will go. Your installer will run wires from your inverter equipment and to your electric panel so that the solar generating equipment can power some or all of the electric loads in your home. In some cases, your electric panel may need an upgrade to support solar, but it isn't common. Your installer can tell you whether you will need one once they take a closer look at your home. We'll get there. So as you can see here, we put all these components together into one project. Panels are on the roof, the wiring comes down to your inverter, and then the wiring goes into your main electric panel. And from there, it powers the loads in your home. And when you are making more energy than you need, that energy goes back out into the grid to power other things nearby in your area. We'll discuss more about that a little bit later. A solar array works best when it has direct sunlight hitting it. As you can see here, there are several factors that make a good roof for solar. Typically, a roof facing east, south, or west with minimal shade and enough space, usually at least 200 square feet, will be best for solar production. You'll also want to make sure your roof has enough life left in it so you don't have to pay someone a couple $1,000s to come back and uninstall the solar array so that the roof can get fixed. And then have the solar installer come back and put the panels on afterwards. Generally speaking, your roof should have 10 to 15 years of life left on it if you are considering solar. Okay, so now let's make sure we're on the same page with some of the terms we're using. A kilowatt is a measure of power capacity. That's the output rating of your solar panels and the solar array as a whole. A kilowatt hour is the energy and what your array will produce over time. This is also what you pay for on your electric bill. An average system size can range from 6 to 7 kilowatts, but sometimes it might be as small as 3 kilowatts or as big as 15 kilowatts or more. How big your system is will depend on several factors: how much space you have for solar, how much energy you use in a year, and what is your budget. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about solar crediting. It's what happens when you are producing more solar energy than you can use in your home at any given moment. The answer is that those electrons flow back to the grid to power nearby loads and in your neighbors' homes and maybe the business down the street. Once those electrons leave your house and pass through your electric meter, you may be able to get a credit for producing that electricity. This credit usually shows up on your utility bill. How much of a credit depends on where you are and the rules in your area. These rules can vary by state and even by utility. In some places, the credit value is the same for every kilowatt hour you send to the grid as the cost you buy for that kilowatt hour. This is called net metering. In other places, the credit value is less and can even fluctuate based on the time of day or year. We will work to ensure that you have the assistance you need when choosing a plan. There are different types of these plans available, and some are better than others, depending on your situation. It's important to compare these plans to ensure you are choosing the right one for you. Our partner, Texas Power, and I'm not expecting you to read this slide, okay? It's very fine print, but our partner, Texas Power Guide, can help you select the best plan free of charge if you live in the Encore or Centerpoint utility areas. Once your system is installed, we will send you an email with a link to this complimentary service. Because electricity exports values vary, one of the most important considerations is how much your solar energy you use immediately on site when you generate it. For example, if you aren't home during the day, when you are generating most of your solar energy, that means that you're sending a lot of that energy back to the grid and getting a credit versus being home and using the energy as soon as you produce it. So we see lots of interest in batteries in our work. So let's talk about energy storage. Without batteries included, your solar array will not produce electricity when the grid is out. This is because the inverters are designed not to send back electricity into the grid during an outage so that the repair people can safely fix the lines. If you want power when the grid is down, you need to add batteries. The batteries then this lets you store the electricity, and then you can disconnect from the grid in an outage and run some or all of your home on the batteries. The batteries then get recharged by the solar panels. Batteries can be expensive, so you need to consider how often the power goes out and what's important to keep running when it does. In most states, adding batteries right now is more about backup power when the grid is out. Due to the high cost of batteries, they are usually not going to make you any money. That's starting to change in some places, though, where battery owners can get paid to help out the grid. Depending on how much battery storage you can afford, you may have to choose how much you want to run on batteries during an outage. Some appliances like a dryer or an electric stove require much more power and energy to run, so you might choose not to include those. And we have guidance on our website to help you through that whole process. So now we're going to switch to getting into some frequently asked questions, and I'll start with warranties. Your solar array has several kinds of warranties. First, the panels and the inverters both come with a product warranties from the manufacturers. These cover product defects. They range from 10 to 15 years, depending on the product. And for inverters, you can usually pay a little extra to extend that warranty. The panels also come with a production warranty. This warranty is the manufacturer's promise that the panels will continue to produce at a specific rate, which often declines very slowly over time. These warranties are usually for 25 to 30 years. And lastly, you have a workmanship warranty from your installer. This warranty usually covers the work they do to install the system, including roof penetrations. These warranties can range from 2 years all the way up to 20 years, depending on the installer. It's common for our bulk purchase program installers to offer longer warranties due to the competitive bidding process. Maintenance. Solar is a very low maintenance technology, but like anything else installed on your home, like an air conditioner or furnace, you should check it, get it inspected periodically. We typically recommend having someone come take a look and do a visual inspection every 3 to 5 years. This is also a good time to get your panels cleaned if you live somewhere where dirt and dust tend to accumulate. And speaking of cleaning, if it rains periodically where you live, then it is usually not necessary to clean your panels. However, if you live in a very dry climate, you may want to wash your panels once every so often to remove the buildup of pollen or dust. If you do clean your panels, we suggest using only lukewarm water and no household cleaning products because they may damage your panels. You can also hire someone to clean your panels. And please, if you can't reach your panels safely, call a professional to have them cleaned instead. Homeowners insurance. When you install solar, there's typically no impact on your home insurance rates, but we have heard of some companies increasing rates and some decreasing them. It's best to call your insurance company ahead of time and let them know you're installing the panels and ask them about the impact to your policy. But it is important to get them insured. Hail has been a very common concern for people we have spoken with. The solar panels themselves are tested to withstand at a minimum hailstones that are 1 inch in diameter, which is more than most roofs can handle. So solar panels are not only likely to be able to withstand hail, but they can actually help protect your roof. If hail damage does damage your panels, this is typically covered by your homeowner's insurance. We recommend you contact your homeowner provider, home insurance provider, to make sure that your solar system is included in the insurance policy. And the lifespan of systems, solar arrays are built to last 20 to 25 years, and they keep on ticking. They are an asset that reduces your cost of electricity for the long term. Homeowners associations. If you live in an area with a homeowners association, be sure to check with them when going solar to confirm the process for approval. Many HOAs are supportive of solar, but some aren't. It is best to know ahead of time to avoid any surprises. In Texas, there's a law that says they can't say no. They can ask you to shift it slightly, but if it affects the production more than 10%, can't do that. Your installer may be willing to help you through that process, and we have a guide available to help you navigate that process. And historic districts, if you live someplace with historic preservation rules, be sure to ask your installer what additional steps may be required. Historic districts sometimes restrict whether your panels will be visible from the street. This may require installers to make a different design decisions to accommodate the rules, and there may be additional approval steps to get a permit. Okay, and you may have your own questions, but you're always welcome to reach out to our help desk. So I'm going to transition now to economic topics that we want to talk about as well. As you can see from this chart, the cost of solar has dropped dramatically over the years. Gone are the days of solar being a boutique investment for the well-off. Because of price declines and various financing options, solar is available to a wider and wider cross-section of people. As that price has come down, the main area of cost for the installers has changed. The main takeaway from this graphic is that the biggest cost to installers these days are the soft costs, or in other words, everything but the equipment and materials. That includes the cost of finding new customers like you. This is one of the reasons that bulk buying programs like this work. They reduce the cost to installers to find customers that you could, and you guys share the savings with them. So one of the main drivers of the economics of solar is the federal tax credit. It is available all over the country, and thanks to Inflation Reduction Act of 2022, it is set at 30% of the system cost until 2032. This is a non-refundable credit, which means that it directly reduces your tax liability. If there's any credit left over in 1 year, you can roll it over and take the rest of it in future years until it is used up. If you own your home, this credit is likely available to you. There are other tax credits available thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act as well. But you have to have a tax liability, right? If you're on a fixed income and don't pay taxes, you won't be able to use that 30%. Okay. So we're going to get into some example pricing of the kind of costs you can expect from a group buy program. The system sizes are just sample sizes from lower to higher end. From the full system cost, you subtract the value of the federal tax credit, if you can take it. That money will come back to you when you file your taxes for the year it was installed, so that next April. Next, you can see the electrical savings. This is the most important part of the economics of solar. That savings represents a yearly reduction in your electricity bills for the life of the system. With solar, what you are doing is fixing a portion of your electricity costs far off into the future. And remember, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, it's critical that you select the best retail energy plan to match your energy usage and solar production patterns. Your retail plan has a large impact on your long-term electricity savings. Our partner, Texas Power Guide, can help you choose the best plan as part of their free service. To pay for solar, most people need some sort of financing. There are lots of options available today. Loans are available through your installer, and you can also source those funds directly from your local bank or credit union, and even a home equity line of credit. So in terms of the loan, the terms of the loan make a big difference in the terms of your overall savings. There are short-term loans available and long-term loans available. With long-term loans, you are paying more interest. With shorter-term loans, your payments will be higher, but you'll pay less interest overall. In some cases, the energy savings for your electric bill can cover the loan payment amount. Okay, Going solar together. Sun has a great help desk should you want to go solar on your own or to help others go solar. Um, and so I encourage you to use that. And I want you all to be ambassadors and help people to go solar. But if you want to go with a group program, Solar Switch is what I recommend. We'll be launching a new program next April and 2025. It's free to join. There's no obligation to purchase. And you'll be with a bunch of people that decide to go solar together. And that is the presentation. That's a Solar 101. I hope you feel confident being a solar ambassador, and I look forward to hearing from you if you have additional questions. Thank you so much for listening. All right, take care.